Okay, let me get this straight. You want to play a bard. You want to play a bard. You want to play a bard. And you want to play a deaf monk. How is this party going to work? Hello and welcome to this episode on how to be a great player. My name is Guy and today we're talking about alignment. Now this video is brought to you by our Patreons who make this channel absolutely possible. And without their support we wouldn't be here anymore, I suppose. So thank you to all of our Patreons. Information down below if you want to support the channel. Alignment in this case is not that prickly pear of lawful evil or neutral good or chaotic evil. It is in actual fact the discussions around making sure that the party is going to work. And to do that we've got to look at complementary reasons for your character, supportive reasons for your character, and we've got to look at the fun factor. So when creating a character you need to think about your alignment in terms of how the party is going to work. So let's jump right into it. Now when we talk about complementary, your character needs to be complementary to the other characters that are in the party. Think about things like your fighting order. If you've got a party of 5 and 5 of you are all, say, spear-wielding, shielded warriors, that's fine, but that's also a phalanx that will dominate on the battlefield, to be sure, but might be lacking charismatic skills or long-range combat. There might not be any magic in there or any divine ability. What about healing? Perhaps it's more science fiction and you've made 5 captains. That's also great, but who's going to be the science officer? Who's going to even know how to use the computer for that matter? So when we talk about complementary characters that fit within alignment, we talk about looking at the fighting space. Okay, you're going to be doing ranged attack, you're going to be doing close attacks, you're going to be absorbing attacks, you're going to be dealing damage. This is how we can fit together. Now, let me stop right here and say that I'm not advocating that you need to sit down and design the perfect, mechanically sound group of individuals. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm saying talk to your fellow players, reason out what characters they want to play, and figure out if you can fill the gaps in. Duplication of character abilities and character skills is not necessarily going to lead to long-term fun. If everybody can pick locks, well, it doesn't really make picking the lock that much of a stressful moment. Oh, I failed to pick the lock. Don't worry, Bruce. I'll pick the lock. Oh, I failed too. No, don't you worry, Bruce. Don't you worry, Bruce. I will pick the lock, Bruce. Bruce will pick the lock. So sometimes overlapping skills are great, but sometimes when everybody has the same skill over and over and over again, it can lead to a boring situation. And you don't want that to happen. So look at your abilities, look at your skills, and if you have spellcasters or magical abilities or the Jedi, if you have those kinds of abilities, look at how are they complementary to what is already in the party. And you don't have to power build with, oh, we got a tank and a DPS, and we got a healer, and we got a ranged attack, and we got AoE control. But you certainly can look at them, and you can look at ways that they might work well together. And if you are playing the same class, if you're playing the same thing, if you're both playing druids or both playing bards for that matter, look at where maybe your focus can be complemented with other skills or spell sets from the other player, so that you don't create these two identical twins that are going to be doing the same thing and basically overshadowing each other. So that's what we talk about when we talk about complementary construction of your character. Something to then think about is look at the support role that you might be playing. So when there are too many heroes, when there are too many cooks, as it might be, things can get complicated. So sometimes you might go, well, I really wanted to play the Starship Captain, but I see that Edgar over there has created a really cool Star Trek captain, so I think I'm going to back off. I'm not going to be a captain. I'm going to go and become the best medical officer I can be. Yes, I think that's what I'm going to do. So rather than trying to outcompete or trying to change some things but still relatively being the same, you can try and look at it from a different perspective in terms of how can you be supportive rather than complementary. necessarily speaking. Some players have got very strong approaches to classes and builds that they're going to be going with, and they know well beforehand. If you're one of those who likes to fill in the gap, being a supportive space is sometimes a very good space. Let heroes be heroes. That's the important thing. And by that I mean, if someone else was going to play a bard and they want to be the charismatic bard, let them do that. If you're too charismatic, if both of you are charismatic bards, you're not going to shine. The hero factor isn't going to be there. Well, because you're not that brilliant, because that person is also pretty brilliant, and that person is brilliant. Let people be heroes in their fields. Don't try and overshadow them by doing better than they are at their chosen space. Now, this also means that if you've got a rogue in the party, and you have the ability to turn invisible and stealth better than the rogue, why should the rogue continue? Let the rogue be the hero. So pause before you take that invisibility spell and become a better rogue than the rogue. Rather go, maybe silence will help the rogue be a better rogue, will help the rogue be the hero that they should be. I'm casting silence, so I'm doing my part. I'm helping, I'm supporting. I'm not stealing the thunder away from a fellow player's character. That's important. And then, of course, look at the types. What types are what type is your character, and what are the other types sitting around the table? I like types. I really do. There's a reason why I did a video on them. The idea is, of course, that everyone has a different dominant type and then some other types that they can add on to add flavor to the character. By making sure that you don't all have the same type, you can start to fill up those gaps, fill up those roles, and that means that you could have 5 wizards running around, but if they're all different types, if they have different focuses, if their spells are aligned so that they complement each other rather than overshadow each other, that can still be a fantastically interesting, fun, engaging party to be part of. Now, we also have to look at fun, and fun is important. So we talk about same. It's the same. I'm playing a fighter, you're playing a fighter, she's playing a fighter, she's playing a fighter, everyone's playing a fighter. This is going to be so much fun. We're going to have challenges, though. Healing, trap finding, negotiating, charming, all of those kinds of things. We're going to have to look at how do we solve those. Perhaps one of us is a pacifist. We're going to look at the counterpoints. What makes our characters that are all the same slightly different? What is the counterpoint? What gives us a uniqueness to our character? And, of course, you have to consider whether the character is actually going to bring fun to the table or not. We're all playing fighters, but I don't really think my fighters are very fun. They're kind of boring. Well, then don't play a fighter. Change to something that you think can bring fun to the table. That's the ultimate point here, is about having fun. So if it is about creating the same characters, if it's about creating different characters, have a little consideration for how does your character contribute to the fun? How does your character do that? If you can do that, if you can align the characters, if you can bring them together in this way, where they support one another, they complement one another, and they bring fun to the table, you will have an incredibly dynamic party, and one that I think will be a lot of fun to play in for a long time to come as well. That's it for this video. Short and sweet. There's not much else to talk about in terms of creating good characters from an alignment perspective. If you have any thoughts on how to keep your party together and align them in terms of these parameters, let us know below. Let's have that discussion. And if you aren't aware, we have a Discord server. The link is down below. Join us there. There are thousands of users who are active and talking in little channels. We've got lots of channels for specific topics and general topics, and it's absolutely a wonderful space to participate. You can find us on Facebook, of course, as well as on all of the other social media bits and bobs out there. Until next time, I wish you and yours the happiest of playing. The fighter likes the video. The rogue subscribes to the video. The wizard hits the bell button. And the druid turns into an octopus because it's a druid. What else are they going to do? I mean, come on, it's a druid.